Hello and welcome into the Dental Profits webinar series. It's 12 o'clock on Wednesday in Nashville. That can only mean one thing. It's time for us to talk about how to have you with happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride. I'm Sean Crabtree. Stay with me. I am really excited to have you with me today. I am going to share with you today the number one secret for you adding an extra $1 million to your practice. And I know what you're thinking. What in the world are you talking about? That's not even possible. Not only is it possible, we've done it. We have some really great success stories over the years, but there's one particular office that we grew a little over $1 million in 14 months. And just to give you a little bit of background on some of this, it was a single doctor practice. He's transitioned to practice now, and so he's the asset has moved on. I worked with these guys for about 12 or so years, something like that. But in the first 14 months, we grew this practice well over $1 million, a single doctor practice. It was already doing about 1.4 million. 14 months, we added $1 million to it. This particular practice is in a part of Michigan where the economic situation is not the best in the world. I think the last time I looked at this part of Michigan, the median household income was about $38,000. But yet, we grew the practice a little over $1 million in 14 months. To give you a little bit more of a background on this situation, we grew this particular practice. We started out with about I think maybe 9 employees, something like that. It got as low as about 6, and we sort of kept it between 6 and 7 for the entire time until we transitioned that particular asset. And by the way, that's the way we look at it when I talk about it being an asset. We look at your practice simply as a vehicle to get you where it is that you want to go. It is an asset, but to be an asset, it has to be able to stand on its own 2 feet. In other words, everybody on the team has to be replaceable. You have to have systems. You have to have approaches that are not dependent on just one person doing a lot of work or making a lot of decisions. And so I want to tell you in depth, I want to give you a little bit of background on sort of what's possible. And I want you to see that wherever you are in this situation, whatever your practice is right now, you can grow $1 million. It's possible for you. It is absolutely possible. And when we come back, I want to tell you exactly how it is that you can do that, and it's not the way you think. I'll give you a hint right off the bat. So stay with me. We'll be right back. Yes, a 98% acceptance rate or better is possible. Yes, you can do it. And yes, it's not as difficult as you think, and I can show you how. I've created a course specifically to cover these topics. It's called the Dental Profits Academy. New patients, existing patients, dormant patients, exactly what to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and how to do it, and what role everybody on your team plays. Intake calls, chairside, financial arrangements, reinstatement calls. It's all there, step by step. It's online, and you can learn it at your leisure. Go to thecrabtreegroup.com and click course for more information. I promise it's the best $800 you'll invest in your career. Welcome back. So, before we left, I just made a big, wild claim, and I suggested that you can grow your practice by $1 million, and I told you a story about how we've done that in the past, specifically in one office, in about 14 months. I want you to know that it's possible, and I want to tell you exactly how to do it. And so right now you're thinking to yourself, geez, $1 million, how in the world is that even possible? Well, here's what I can tell you. And this was a lesson for me as well. If you sincerely want to grow your practice, you got to start with step number one. If you really want to grow your practice, you have to ask yourself, is this really what I want more than anything else? Is growing my practice $1 million something that I want more than a feeling of comfort? Is growing my practice by $1 million something that I want more than, feeling complacent or comfortable? Or which is more valuable to me? Growing my practice by $1 million or, not confronting particular issues and challenges? I can tell you, if your answer to any of those kinds of questions is you'd rather stay in your comfort zone, you're not willing to challenge yourself or the people around you, you're not willing to confront issues and challenges. I don't mean in a negative way, but addressing those things head on. If those things are more important to you than growing your practice by $1 million, then you know what? You should stop watching right now, because it's never going to happen for you. If, however, step one, you have made a commitment that I really want to grow my practice by $1 million, that's exactly what it is that I want to do. And that's more important to me and more valuable to me than my comfort zone or my willingness to be challenged or challenge the people around me or any of that. Then you're off and running. And if that's what you want and you've committed to that step one, now you can go to step two. And here's the important part. Everybody on earth that says they want to grow their practice, this is my experience. Everybody on earth that says they want to grow their practice is looking for how. What's the thing I need to do? Right? What is the thing that I need to do? Give me that one thing, right? How do you handle an intake call so I can grow my practice $1 million? We got this issue in the hygiene department. We need new patients. How do I get new patients? How do I reinstate patients who have gotten out the door? How do I handle confirmation calls? And I can tell you that none of those are the answer. Okay? Here's the answer. You, as the keeper of this goal to grow your practice by $1 million, you have got to commit that moving forward, you are going to spend all of your energy, all of your focus, all of your behavior, everything you do, everything you say, everything that you are communicating internally within your team and externally, it's all got to be around working on your business and not in your business. And I understand what you're saying right now. Sean, I've heard that before. I got to work on my business, not in my business. Well, let me explain that just a little bit. It is true, by the way. If you are a dentist, more than likely you got into dentistry because you wanted to help people and you enjoy the clinical aspects of dentistry and all of that. Here's the thing that you got to understand. Being a great dentist and having a very successful dental business are two very different things. Now, that's not specific to dentistry. It doesn't matter if you're an IT person, if you're an HVAC company, if you're a contractor. If you are in a service business, the actual delivery of the service versus the successful running of a business are two very different things. And you, as the owner of the business and the keeper of this goal to grow $1 million, have got to shift your focus, and it's got to be 100%, and it's got to be total, and it's got to be sincere. You have to be working on your business, and you've got to communicate that to the people around you, that the most important thing and the priority lies in working on the business, not in the business. The things that you do have to exemplify that the most important priority is working on the business, not simply doing the dentistry and working in the business. The things that you say have got to prioritize that the most important thing is working on the business, not simply doing the dentistry in the business. You've got to exemplify that in your behavior. You've got to communicate that directly, and you've got to set aside time that is based strictly in the investment of your team working on the business versus working in the business. If you guys are learning a new way I think we just showed a commercial about treatment acceptance. And we've got all of these steps in there, from steps on what needs to happen on the intake call, steps of what needs to happen on chair side, steps about how it is that you present a financial, steps about how it is that you reinstate a dormant patient. We've got all sorts of modules on there about how to. But here is the trick. How to do it is very little of the success. The success lives in making sure that your focus is on the business of getting those things done. You're not going to be able to come to a meeting and go, here's the way we're going to do this. Done. And you grow your practice $1 million. It doesn't work that way. You as the owner of the business have got to put a serious focus on working on the business versus doing tasks in the business. I heard somebody say it this way the other day. If everybody on your team does not understand that the thing that they do matters at the highest level toward the direction of where it is that we're trying to go, then at the end of the day, that person simply has a job. And if they have a job, they are simply performing tasks for money. There's no thought to a strategy. There's no thought to implementation of a strategy. There's no focus on getting outside of my comfort zone or whatever's holding me back to actually implement the steps in a strategy. It's simply the performance of tasks. And those tasks may work and they may not work, but at the end of the day, I'm here for a paycheck and to heck with it. You as the owner of the business have got to totally flip that around. Your focus in all things is working on the business. So you're challenging yourself with set aside time on a regular basis about what you might need to get past in your own mind, some limitations in your own head, some beliefs that you have, some comfortability that you have. You got to set aside time to challenge those things, and you've got to do the same thing with the people on your team individually about situations, because that is working on the business, and that's what has the implementation of the strategies at the highest level be successful. That is the absolute ticket. I can tell you, if you're listening to this, you're going, hey, that totally makes sense, but how does it look? Well, I can tell you this. You're going to end up, if what I'm saying makes sense, you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to have to carve out, call it production time or patient time. You're going to have to carve that time out and spend it on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis dedicated to working on your business. What is all the tracking telling us? What are the strategies that we're trying to implement? What's working? What's not? What's holding us back from implementing those things and communicating through all of that, and communicating through the limitations that the people on your team have. And every one of us has limitations about what we think we're capable of, what we're comfortable of, what we think is possible, all of those things. That's what holds you back from being successful. And you've got to carve time out on a regular basis. You can't do this once a month. It's got to be daily. It's got to be weekly. It's got to be monthly. And that means you got to be connected to the very first thing we talked about, which is the most important thing to you has to be the growth of the business. And it's more valuable to you than your own comfort zone. It's more valuable to you than the people on your team's comfort zone. It's more valuable to you than how you feel about communication and actually addressing issues directly. And that's why I said it's got to be step one, because that's what's going to carry you through carving out that time and focusing on it on a regular basis. How you've gotten to this point is not the way you're going to get to the next level if you're trying to add $1 million to your bottom line. It's totally possible, but you have to realize that working in my business is not the most important thing. Working on my business is absolutely the most important thing. Can they hear the construction going on, Mr. Producer? They can't through the microphone? Okay, so I will apologize. As you guys can hear, we have some construction going on upstairs. That's like rule number one of media, right? Don't have all this outside noise. But alas, there's not a thing in the world we can do about it. The Crabtree group is expanding, and we're about to move upstairs into a bigger spot. So we got all kinds of construction going on. Hopefully what you don't see is little pits of dust falling down. Because we had that the other day. There was a big loud drop, and then we had dust falling down. So anyway, if that happens, ignore it. So Not that that has anything, Mr. Producer, to do with what it is we're talking about right now. Because if you want to grow your practice by $1 million, I can tell you it's possible. I can tell you we've done it, but it's going to require a totally different focus, and it's going to require you getting in touch with, as I said before, the most valuable thing to me is that $1 million growth, and it's more valuable than anything else that's going on, and you got to be committed to that, and you got to put focus on it on a regular basis. Now, let me give you a couple of examples of what I'm looking for if I'm in terms of your role, like what that looks like. We've talked about you're going to have to carve out time. There's no doubt about it. You're going to have to put your focus on challenging issues, and you know that those issues are, mindset issues. What we all think, and of course it might be individually, what the different people on your team think is possible, what they think is comfortable, what they think is doable, what they think their patients will or won't do, and all of those sorts of things. But it's also the subtle things, and I want to give you 2 examples of this. It just happened the other day. If you guys have a goal of growing $1 million, then you need to chunk that down, obviously, into what needs to happen in terms of production. We've covered that on a previous video, breaking that production down into departments, breaking those departments further into chairs, also breaking that down into a collection goal. So let's assume that you've got all of that there. And let's assume, which is very possible, that right out of the chute, that first month, because you're still getting your strategies going, you don't hit the goal. Okay. If somebody on the team suggests, maybe we should lower the goal and baby step our way into this, you as the captain of the ship in that moment have got to realize the most important thing to me is prioritizing getting to that $1 million. I'm not going to lower the goal. That's the silliest thing in the world. You got to recognize that is a mindset issue. When somebody says maybe we need to lower the goal, you have to extrapolate that out and go, okay, that is a window into the way a team member of mine is thinking. If somebody wants to lower the goal, what they're saying is, you know what? I don't want to be disappointed. Look, that's a matter of I got to get control of what I'm thinking. I determine whether I'm disappointed. I determine what that means. Heck, you're already disappointed because you're trying to reach $1 million goal, right? Throw that out the window. You don't lower the goal. Instead of going, well, I don't want to be disappointed, challenge that person to go, look, we're not going to lower the goal. The goal is $1 million. If we didn't get there, that means there's some things that we need to analyze, what's working, what's not, figure out what the solutions are, and move forward. Lowering the goal is only going to further kick the can down the road in terms of how long it takes us to get there. If you allow that mindset to permeate itself into your team, okay, it's a constant lower. What's the old saying? The rising tide lifts all boats. You know what? The reverse is true. If somebody on the team starts to lower the tide, then all the boats also lower, and you can't allow that to happen. Your role as the leader is to challenge that mindset directly in the moment because you're attached to what we just talked about. The most important priority for you is having that $1 million growth. And your comfort zone, what you're comfortable with or not comfortable with in terms of challenging that, has got to be secondary. Your first priority is that growth, and so you're looking for opportunities to challenge your own mindset and the people around you mindset. Here's another opportunity that we just came up with. We were in a team meeting the other day, and there was a particular goal that they had in a particular department in a particular area. And so it was a big, hairy goal, which is great. They fell short by a lot. And the mindset on this particular team at the moment was, we should be really excited because we're working harder. We're giving more effort in a place that we've not put effort before. So that's something that we should acknowledge, right? You as the captain of the ship have got to be focused. Again, that is an opportunity big time for you to challenge it. We're not looking to acknowledge effort. If anything, we're trying to have less effort, right? We're trying to be more strategic. We're trying to be smarter about it. Don't acknowledge effort. Acknowledge result, right? Effort is useless. We're not even focused on effort. We're focused on a result. If we're focused on effort, we're going to eventually slide into that slippery slope of the example I gave a moment ago where maybe we ought to lower the goal because we're trying really hard. Look, get out of that mindset. You as the captain of the ship have got to be holding the culture that this is where it is that we're trying to go. If we did not hit a particular result, it's not about acknowledging effort. It's about what do we need to do differently and being excited about the fact that we're searching and finding the thing that we're going to do differently. What's the strategy that we need to implement? Or more than likely, what is the thing that's held us back from fully implementing that strategy this month? When you get the answer to that and you push forward through that, that's what's going to have you be successful. The mindset is the most important thing, and that is working on your business. Now, the opposite of this is working in your business. If you want to grow your practice by $1 million in the next 12 months, there's no way you, as the captain of the ship, are going to be able to come in and focus on doing dentistry and focus on flipping patients and focus on getting from one patient to the next and all of that. The only way to grow in that scenario is to do more hours, more days, more patients, more employees, more fill in the blank, more, it's not about how to do it. It's about focusing on the mindset and working on the business that makes the difference. One of the biggest things that we hear all the time is, how do I get more new patients? What kind of procedures do I need to do that could help me grow my business? How many more team members do I need to grow my business? You know what? Throw all that out the window. If you want to grow your practice, in this example, by $1 million, forget all of that. Don't worry about adding more new patients. Don't worry about adding procedures, to the bin. Don't worry about adding ops or adding people or any of that. Shift your focus 100% in everything you do, everything you say, every way that you think. Switch it to working on your business. Allocate time, allocate focus, allocate energy to working on the business. That's how you're going to be successful, and that's what it is that I want for you. There's 1 million ways for you to grow the practice right now that have nothing whatsoever to do with adding new patients, adding operatories, or adding people, or adding different procedures. Look at your acceptance rate. Are you even tracking your acceptance rate? Before you go figure out how to see more people and hire more people to see more people or do different things, you know what? Figure out how to hit home runs every time you're at bat versus how to get another bat, how to get another attempt, right? That's working on your business. If your focus is simply working through what you got in front of you, then the only way you can grow is do more. And that's not going to have you be successful over the long term. It's not going to be repeatable, and it's not going to be constant. And at the end of the day, that's what I want for you. Not just success, but repeatable, consistent success. So there you go. That's the way to do it. I heard, I think it was Zig Ziglar say one time, success doesn't come the way you think, it comes from the way you think. And when you shift your focus from working in the business to 100% focused on working on the business, that's what's going to make the difference. Now, the assumption is already that you're doing great work. I'm not going to question your clinical work, right? You wouldn't have got to where you are right now if you weren't doing great work. Shift your focus from the work to being very strategic. Work on the business, not work in the business. And that's how you're going to be successful, and that's what it is I want from you. I appreciate very much you joining me today for Dental Profits Live webinar series, where it's all about you having better what am I going to say here, Mr. Producer? It's about you. See, they're just driving me crazy up here. It's got me all messed up. It's about you having happier clients, better results, making more money, enjoying the ride, and in this case, it's about another $1 million to your bottom line. I'm Sean Crabtree. I'll see you next week right here in the studios with more construction, I'm sure.